We all love getting new things, but just because you can buy something doesn't mean you can afford it. In this week's talk, we'll look at the self-inflicted pain of buying stuff you can't afford and how God can help you to curb the craving to spend.
Earlier in the service, I asked you, what's one of your face-palmiest purchases you ever made? Instant regret or later regret? Why did I do that? Purchases. Here are some of the things that you guys did, right? This is not me. I'm always smart with my money. Just kidding. Workout equipment, never used it. Some of you guys, you can relate. Yeah, man, we're going to get that treadmill and use it every day. No, we're not. Snow skis that I've used one time. I don't even know where the closest place to ski is. Maybe you should rent those. A puppy. Yep, that makes sense. A new car I had no business buying. A last-minute flight. Packers gear. A lot of regret on that one. A Chia pet. Who remembers TV in the 90s? Chia, right? Chia pet. Yeah. Timeshare. Oh, boy. Whew. Yeah. It sounds like a great deal right up until you look at the fine print. Facepalm purchases. I've made quite a few of those, and there's something that most of those have in common. Almost all of those, maybe all of those, I should pay attention, are not long-range strategic financial decisions. Most of those facepalm purchases are in the moment. Hey, let's get a puppy. Right? I'm just feeling I'm in a puppy mood today. Let's get a timeshare, right? Because you've got to make this decision right now as you're sitting in and they're telling you and they let you go and stay at the hotel for free for one day. Don't you want to get a timeshare? If you don't make the decision right now, you're going to lose on the deal. I think we've all done those. The impulse buy, the impulse spending. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about impulse spending today. Menards gets me every single time. Guys and girls who are tools, I'm going in, I just need a socket for the socket wrench set, and I walk out with 6 bags of honey roasted peanuts because it's a good deal. And those red tags say, oh, this is like last minute clearance. Or, I'm going to be gender inclusive, ladies or also guys who enjoy Target right at the front of the store. Right at the front of the store, it's just $2. It doesn't even count if it's $2. And if I get 5 of them, it's still, okay? Impulse buys. We as Americans, we like that. Stores know it. That's why there's always a cold energy drink right there when you're checking out or a big, protein bar or whatever. We like impulse buys. Recent survey found that 92% of Americans say, yes, I have a history of buying things impulsively. 20% of all online sales are impulse buys. I didn't log into the website planning to buy this, but man, that looks really cool. Wow, these shoes would go really good with that jacket. Wow, this clearance is real. I better get it now while the deal is there. I don't even need another one of these, but I'll give it to somebody else because the deal is just too good. We do it a lot, impulse buys. Recent survey found that the average American makes 10 impulse purchases every month, for an average total of $254 a month of, hey, that's a good deal. I wasn't planning to buy that, but why not? Now, how many of you guys could think of something more productive you could do with $254 every month? I can. I like honey roasted peanuts, but not $254 of them. Okay. And it's not that impulse buying is inherently wrong. It illustrates a problem we talked about last week, and we're going to really dig in and see how to fix it this week. And that is that we all have a tendency to love stuff, to love money. And when we love money, we end up serving money. And instead of me telling money what to do, money kind of bosses me around. Yes, sir. Okay, I'll get that right away. We don't want to live that way. I'm going to help you be better about it this week. Now, before we dive into this week's content, just want to take a minute to give a shout out to Pastor Craig Rochelle and Life Church. This series is based on a series that they did a couple of years ago, and they were kind enough not only to give us permission to do a fresh spin on the series, but to give us all of their media, the intro videos and all that. So thank you to Life Church. Love those guys. Okay, here's a problem. We tend to impulse buy things because we love stuff. Me too. I love stuff. I do it a lot. But a lot of Americans, and many of us in the room, have a toxic relationship with money, and it ends up hurting you. And you end up with a lot of facepalm purchases that you wish you didn't have. And there's a better way to live, and we want to get there today. But if you want to have a healthy relationship with money, write this down. You need to curb the craving. You need to curb the craving. If you want to have a healthy relationship with money, then you need to find ways to do this part here, because when you make impulse buys, they're really not the best kind. I think we can do something better with the money that God entrusts us with. We read this last week. We'll read it again. 1 Timothy 6:10. The Bible says, "For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And some people," what's this word right here? Craving. No, wait, say it louder. Say it louder. Okay. How many moms in the room sent your dutiful husband on an ice cream or pickles or something run in the middle of the night because I need food now? I have a craving. I need meat. Okay, it depends on the kids. One of them is like, no, I need actual animal muscle flesh now. I'm like, this is good. I go with this. Okay, craving. Some people craving money, all right, have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. You notice the Bible does not say some people carefully planning and strategically purchasing pierce themselves with sorrows. God doesn't say to us, some people consulting experts and talking it over with their spouse pierce themselves. It says some people craving money do foolish things and later regret it and say, why did I do that? And God issues a warning for just the kind of stuff that we tend to do because we're not carefully planning. We're not strategically thinking out. Okay, we're taking the Veruca Salt approach to money. Everybody remember this girl from Willy Wonka? Put that up there. Can we get audio on that? Maybe not. If not, I'll do it. Don't care how. I want it now. Daddy, I want a pony. Okay, we'll get you a pony when we get home, dear. No, I want it now. Okay, we all have little Veruca Salt inside of us. Okay, come on. We've all felt it. We've all looked back and said, no, why did I buy that? Or for me, I'm a sucker for a deal. I'll walk out of the place. I'm like, wait a minute. Why did I buy 6 of these? What am I even going to do with the other 5? It's going to take me a year and a half to eat these. Why did I buy this much? I don't know. It was in the moment. I just acted. I don't want to be that way. How many of you would say, Chris, I would rather boss money around than money boss me around? Anybody else? I would rather be the boss and say, you get money and you don't, than be, okay, I guess, I'm sorry, here you go. Okay, I don't want to be that way. Here's what we have to do, okay? If you need to curb the craving, write this down. We need to act your wage. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. I know this is really weird. This is old school. Some of you guys are old enough that you remember when this was normal. Okay? Some of you guys have that like grandpa logic going on. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. Okay? It's not complicated, but this right here will prevent a lot of financial pain. And there are things that God puts in the Bible, not just because it's primarily a sin issue, but it's a hurting you issue. It's a, hey, I want you guys to be healthy. And he says some people craving money have done great injury to themselves, to their families, to their communities, because they used it poorly and they backed themselves into a corner. Hey, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. Now, here's what I've noticed in America. This part right here is really stretchy and flexible. It depends on who you talk to. When we were first married, I made an impulse buy, okay? Not all impulse buys happen immediately. I had a really nice sound system in my car, and we lived in an apartment, and somebody broke in and stole it. On my birthday. Okay? Really stinks. Talked to insurance. We got all of the stuff restored. Literally months later, somebody broke in and stole it again. And right in the moment, in anger, I said, that's it. I'm not living in an apartment anymore. We need a house. I need a garage. I'm done with this. And we start talking. We need a house. I need a house. I need a house. We'd been married for not even a year. I need a house, a real house. We bought a brand new house. Now, not a lot of banks are willing to tell a young married couple, yeah, you can buy a brand new house. And some banks said, no, are you kidding? You can't afford that. So we just talked to more people until we found one that could get creative enough. Well, if we do this part of this mortgage and this, and have a little side thing here, and a little thing over here, and thing over here, you stitch them all together, and the bank will say you can afford it. Okay? Don't. If you have to stretch the rubber band really tight to afford a house, you can't afford it. That was like a year before the housing market crashed, and we ended up with a house. I couldn't even afford to sell it because I would lose money. We're just stuck. Okay? Afford it. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. You need to act your wage, or else you will bring pain on yourself. Okay, let me show you how that works. Let's do some depressing math today. Anybody want depressing math? Any students, you're like, okay, I'm in math class. That's depressing. No, I mean the math itself is depressing. Last week, we told you that the average American who carries a balance on their credit card had a balance of $14,500. Put that up, Danny. Average American who carries a balance, $14,500. Now, some of you guys, you see this number and you're feeling really good. You're like, man, you bunch of losers. I only have 12,000. Okay. Some of you guys are like, you're pining for the day. You're like, oh, Facebook, like the Facebook, do you remember post? Do you remember when this was only 14,500? Can I go back? This is the average, 14,500. Okay. That means that the average minimum payment on that for Americans, put that up, is $400 a month. That's a lot. Think about what you could do with $400 a month. You're buying the honey roasted peanuts at Menards with 22% interest. Okay? And statistics tell us that 20% of Americans who have a balance only pay the minimum payment every month. Okay? Let me show you what happens if you take that approach. If you only make the minimum payment every month, how long do you think it will take you to pay off this number? Put that up. 32 years! 32 years to pay off the honey roasted peanuts and the skis that you never use and the workout equipment that you don't use and the puppy that has all of the AKC registered, all of the shots and everything, but it chewed up your skis that you bought that's why you didn't use them. Okay? And over that 32 years, put that last one up. Okay? It's the depressing part. You will pay $32,000 in interest alone on top of this. Okay? So the face palm purchase now has a lot of pain attached to it, and that's normal in America. We spend a lot of money on stuff that we don't need, and we do it because we crave stuff. There's something natural inside that says, I want it, and I have the capacity. Visa tells me that I can have it now. I'm going to get it now. But if you can't afford it, then you shouldn't buy it. Now, I look at this dynamic, and God says the craving is a problem, and I think, man, if only there were something in the Bible that could help me to curb the craving. If only there was some way to help so I didn't have to try to do it by myself. Let me put this passage up, and you tell me, all right, when you see something in here that might help. Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 and 23. Okay, the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, becoming a Dallas Cowboys fan. Yes. Fruit. This is our year, maybe. Okay, faithfulness, gentleness, and wait, what's this last one here? Self-control. Self-control. Now, that sounds like that might help. That sounds like that might help things. If God says, okay, I'm being silly with the Cowboys stuff, but the rest of this, God says this is stuff that shows up in spiritually mature lives. This is stuff that shows up when you don't just say you're a Christian, but you actually decide, I'm going to live as a Christian. God says this is the evidence of spiritual maturity, love and joy and peace, and all the way down here, self-control. Self-control. This is something that God desires that He's going to work hand in hand with you to build. Write this down in your notes. Self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. It's something that he wants. It's something that he will help you grow. But as everything is in this life with the Lord, it's a two-part process. He's helping, but you have to choose to do it. He's developing it, but there's some sweat equity involved. If any of you have ever had a garden, okay, God makes it rain. God makes the sun come out. God makes the system work, but you have to plow the field and actually put the seeds down. Sometimes you have to come and do the water bucket because it didn't rain this week. Other times it rains so much that your whole yard is mud. That's right now, okay? And so what I want to give you today is a couple of things that you can do, practical things, to help you to develop the self-control that God says you need. Because God says some people craving money have left the faith. They've walked away from Christianity because their whole life is oriented around getting stuff. Some people, because they crave stuff, have brought great injury on themselves. And he says a fruit of the Spirit is self-control. Now, if I have enough self-control, then I'm not impulse buying my life away. But I need to come in maybe and do some things to stack the deck in my favor. I don't know about you, but I'll take every advantage I can get to be smart, to be wise, to do things that will help me to follow God's plan. I'm going to give you 3 of them today. These are very practical. And let me say this. Some of you guys in the room, you are already experts at all 3 of these. Okay? And there's a moment today where you're going to say, okay, well, yeah, I'll wait for next week. I've already got these. Okay, let me encourage you, those of you who are experts, okay, to take today and take notes and say, all right, if you're an expert, this is going to be an easy way to communicate this to your son because you want him to be an expert. This is a great way to communicate this to your granddaughter because your son wasn't listening, but maybe your granddaughter will. And you say, okay, listen, honey, this has been good for me. All right, so today is going to help you to put some terms and to succinctly explain from a biblical perspective how to be smart about money. Okay, let me give you 3 things. Here's the first one to write down. Build an emergency fund. I heard a yes out there. Somebody has an emergency fund, okay? Somebody has an emergency fund and they once didn't, and they know what this does. What do you mean, Chris? What's an emergency fund? Okay, Dave Ramsey talks about it this way, and I think Dave makes some good points, and this is one of them. Okay, and what's an emergency fund? An emergency fund is an amount of money, ideally cash or not in your checking account, that you save for emergencies. Okay, I would suggest $1,000, maybe $1,500 in 2026 for emergencies. Okay, not, babe, they're running the RAM is on clearance. All right, and I've been trying to get 64 gigabytes of RAM for a year. It's on clearance. This is an emergency. I need the money. Not that kind of emergency, okay? Actual emergency, like your stove quits working and you don't have the money to eat out. And you're like, how am I can only microwave stuff for so long. An emergency fund. How does that help you have self-control? Okay, because this will enable you to make and keep a budget. If you don't have an emergency fund, how many of you guys have ever noticed that you can have the perfect budget and then it's like a fantasy football team? You can draft the perfect team and one injury is just going to wreck your team every year. Okay, you can have the perfect budget and then your stove quits working. You can have the perfect budget and then the dog chews on something. You have to take it to the vet to get its stomach pumped. You can have the perfect budget and then you run over a nail and how much does tires cost? Why do I have to get 4 of them? Can't I just fix one? And it'll derail you. Okay, you need an emergency fund so that you can keep a budget. Now, I know you're thinking, because I've been here too. Well, that's great. Chris, if I had $1,500 sitting on the counter, I would have an emergency fund. The reason I don't have it is because I don't have the money. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. How am I supposed to get that? There are a lot of ways. Okay. You can have a garage sale. You can sell stuff on eBay. You can take a spending freeze and tell the family, hey, we're going to take a break on all of our streaming services until we have an emergency fund, and then we'll catch up on the shows, and you can just binge because there'll be 2 seasons worth. Okay? You can pick up an extra shift at work. Okay? A fully stocked emergency fund is about 2 months of doing Walmart Spark on Saturdays. Well, that's not so bad. And once you get that, then when something breaks, it's no longer an emergency, it's an inconvenience. You need this. Okay? Have an emergency fund so that you can do this next one. Okay? Write this down. Make a realistic budget. This is the Chris Clark addition to this idea here. Make a realistic budget. How many of you guys have ever tried this and you have this perfect budget and it is so miserable that like not even people in the gulag in Soviet Russia could do it? Okay? They would be revolting and like, shoot me now. It's better than living under this budget. Okay? You need to make a realistic, you like my accent there? You're practicing that. You need to make a realistic budget. You make something that you'll actually stick to, but you need to make a budget. The Bible says this, Proverbs 21:5. The plans of a hardworking person lead to prosperity, but everyone who's always in a hurry ends up in poverty. Okay? If you make plans, God says if you make plans for your money, it leads to prosperity because you're spending it wisely. We all have a little bit of Bruce Banner and in the Incredible Hulk. And if I'm making plans as Professor Banner with the glasses on, I'm a lot smarter than if I'm in the moment and like Hulk smart. Okay, I want it now. You need to make a plan, make a realistic budget. The realistic budget, write this down, will force you to spend more logically and less impulsively. Okay? If you make a budget, you will plan the money. And I would suggest, I know some of you guys, you hate budgets. This feels like homework. If you are married, you really ought to do this together, or at least let the nerd of the family make the budget, and then let the free spirit sit there and say, now here's how much we can afford to spend on eating out this month. Here's how much we can afford to spend on tools this month. Here's how much we can afford to spend. Make a budget. It's amazing. The first time you do this, the first time you look and say, what did I actually spend money on last month? It is so enlightening. I promise, if you've never done it before, you will look at things and say, I must have done the math wrong. There's no way I spent that much on 64-ounce Dr. Pepper. Then you'll do the math and you say, oh no, I did. Okay? It will illustrate where the money's going, because ultimately, I want the money to serve me as I serve God, which means I need to spend it wisely. Okay? Yeah, just keep a tally as you go. If you spend, your bank will usually, you can log on and see where all of those transactions go. And if you do it in cash, just keep the receipts. You don't have to do it every month, but you need to make a budget. Okay? One more thing that will practically help you. You need to set financial goals. Write this down. And write them down. You need to set goals and then write them down. Write them down somewhere. Okay? You can write them down on paper. You can write them down in your app. You can put a little piece of paper in your wallet so every time you open it up, you see it. When I was a teenager, okay, my brother and I are both musicians. And my younger brother, teenage brother, got this idea in his head that he wanted to save up and buy an acoustic guitar. It was a Taylor 414 CE. You say, Chris, that's amazing that 25 years later, and 25? Okay. You remember the model. Okay. I remember the model because my younger brother, Nick, he told me, he said, listen, I need your help. Anytime that we're at a store and I pull out my money to spend it on something else, I need you to whack me on the side of the head and say, 414 CE! And make me stop. Because I want to save my money and I need help. Because I know myself. Okay, and I don't know if he still has it, but he did. He saved up the money. He got the guitar. Beautiful, beautiful instrument. You need a goal because you're going to grow weary saying no a lot. If you have a budget and you're used to just buying impulsively, the budget is going to tell you no because you're going to get to the store and say, "Ooh, this is a good deal." Wait a minute. Nope, that is not in the budget. The budget says no. The budget says I already spent enough on this month. The budget says that's not going to fit, and I need to wait until next month. You're going to grow weary. You're going to need help. You need something encouraging, because from a psych perspective, I can tell you, you only have so much willpower, and it's going to be depressing to have to tell yourself no. Or when your wife, who makes who likes the spreadsheets, or your husband, who is in charge of the bank account, becomes the villain who tells you no. Okay, it's hard. Saying no a lot can start to feel like this. Put that up on the screens there, Danny.
Yes.
I have to disagree. No.
No?
No.
Is that the only word that you know? No?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
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 Oh.
I mean, no.
No. Over and over again. Every word out of your mouth is no. It makes me so angry.
Okay? Might be the only time I really relate to a Disney princess, but I get it. Okay? It's exhausting saying no. Okay? And it's hard because we live in America. This is the country where every 5 minutes in the show you're watching, or 3 ads before any YouTube video, here's stuff you can buy. You can buy it on credit. You can buy it on buy now, pay later. 45% of purchases in this country are made on credit. Not money that you have, money that you hope to have someday. And it's hard when you see everybody else doing it. It's hard to say no when your friends are doing the vacation that you really want to do. And how can they afford that? It's hard to say no when your frenemies are buying the stuff that you really want. And you're like, surely they're going into debt for that. It's hard to say no as a parent, because you see that experience that someone else's child has, and you say, my kids deserve that. They deserve to have those kinds of clothes. They deserve to have that kind of phone. They deserve to have that kind of vehicle. I need to give it to them because others have it and they don't. But I'm not just saying no. I'm saying no to this so I can say yes to something better. That's how this budgeting thing works. I'm saying no to iPhone 17 Pro Max so I can say yes to a sane work schedule where I'm actually home sometimes to be with the kids. I'm saying no to another streaming service so I can say yes to going on vacation without going into debt at 22% interest. I'm saying no to a new pair of Nikes so I can say yes to hopefully retiring someday, because I'm not spending everything that I get, but I'm making a budget and saying, I don't need this right now, but down the line, I am going to need this. And it's hard. It's hard. I'm not good at it. I need the Lord's help. And I need to put things in the way, like me smacking my brother on the side of the head, 414 CE. Sometimes I need stuff in the way to help me to choose wisely. Because we all have a tendency to buy impulsively. But let me give you a couple of examples of better things you could do with $254 a month than make 10 impulse buys of stuff that you may not even use or need. You do a lot of cool things for yourself. Think about this. If instead of impulsively buying stuff in the moment, if you curbed the craving with God's help and you chose self-control, you said, I'm going to make a budget. I'm going to have an emergency fund. I'm going to make a budget. I'm going to have financial goals. I'm going to say no to these things now. Let's say you have that $14,000 in credit card debt. And instead of making the minimum payment, you take that $254 a month of impulse buys and you put that on your credit card debt. Instead of 32 years to pay it off, you would pay it off in 2.5. Wow. That's pretty cool. Now I have $650 to do cool stuff with. If instead of buying the extra pair of shoes and the honey roasted peanuts for $254 a month, if you chose instead to invest that, then in 32 years, instead of paying off your credit card, 32 years of not impulse buying and planning, you would have $700,000 ready for you to retire. I'm not so worried about whether Social Security is going to be there when I've got a nest egg like that. You could do cool stuff for yourself. You could do cool stuff for your family. $254 a month of impulse buys that you save. You could take a family of 4 for a week to Cancun, all inclusive, and hang out on the beach and eat all of the Mexican food that you want. Some of you guys are like, oh yeah, I need to research that. You can, okay? That sounds like a better deal. That's some memories that I want to make with the family. Grandparents in the room? Okay, what about this? When your first grandchild is born, some of you guys might be grandparents soon. Your first grandchild is born, you take that $254 a month and you start saving it. By the time they're 16, you could buy that grandkid and 6 other ones a $16,000 car for their 16th birthday. Wouldn't that be neat? Sounds better than honey roasted peanuts. Sorry, honey roasted peanuts. Okay, I'll find other things. You could do a lot of cool stuff. Okay, you could take that same money and you could fund snack packs all by yourself. Hey, you guys can give food to other people. I got this one. This December, when we take up money to buy kids at Boys and Girls Club new shoes for Christmas, okay, we're doing that again this year. Kicks for Kids. Okay, hey, Pastor, can you talk to the Boys and Girls Club in East Peoria, Boys and Girls Club in Bloomington, Boys and Girls Club somewhere else? I'll donate. I'll get enough. I've got enough to buy all of them shoes. We got extra to spare. Just from not doing so much impulsive spending. If you took that money and you were smart with it, you could donate to Convoy of Hope. You could donate to the American Red Cross. You could give to missionaries who come here. You would be giving, just donating that money, you would be donating more than 93% of Americans. And most of the rest of them make 5 times what you make. And it's not by getting a raise, it's by being smart and not being impulsive. Listen, I have lived with the weight of bad decisions hanging over me. I have lived where every month it's like, okay, how am I going to pay that bill this month? I have lived with those things that I bought stuff and now I'm upside down and I can't even get out of this car loan. I can't even get out of this home loan. I've been deep in credit card debt multiple times. I know what that feels like. It stinks. And God has given us wisdom so we don't have to live that way. But you have to curb the craving. The problem is not money. The problem is not making money. The problem is not having money. The problem is not having nice things. The problem is those craving money tend to make poor decisions, and then they have to live with those. Think about the good we could do as a church community if we started managing the money instead of the money managing us. If we started making money serve us as we serve God, and then when he says, I really like you to give to this need, you say, sure, where's the checkbook? I'd really like you to help this family out who's fallen on hard times. No problem. I've got it. I've been waiting for an opportunity. We do that now. And we take money every month and we're saving it and we're saving it and we're saving it so that when needs arise, we have it in the bank ready to go. And we say, yes, Lord. Man, that feels good. We make the median income in Pekin. I'm not rich. With God's help, we're trying to be smart. And you can too, but you have to curb that craving. So I challenge you to choose and embrace self-control. Don't get caught up in being able to have all of the stuff that you want right now. Put it in the budget and buy things that are fun. But budget that money wisely.
Hey there, just wanted to take a minute to say thanks for watching. If a friend sent you this link, it's because they believe what we talked about today is going to make a positive impact in your life. And if it did, there's probably somebody that you care about who could benefit from it. So take a minute to share this video with somebody. Post it to your timeline or send them a direct link. And if you're able, take a minute to give using the link at the bottom of the description on this video. One last thing. Maybe you feel a tug at your soul and you're ready to take the next step in your spiritual life and form a relationship with God. We've got folks here who would love to talk with you about it. So just text prayer to the number on your screen and we'll follow up with you. It's also in the description on this video in case that helps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.